morning, dear students. I'm Dr. Anushya, Assistant Professor, Department of Visual Communication, Mother Teresa Women's University, Kodaikanal, Tamil Nadu. In this series, I will be teaching the research methodology, and in today's topic is review of literature. I hope you all listen to it and make use of the content. Welcome everyone. Today we will explore review of literature, a crucial step in academic research. This is a process which involves analyzing previous studies to understand existing knowledge, identify gaps, and refine a research approach. Imagine if you want to study the impact of social media on mental health. A literature review will help you to find existing studies on this topic, identify what researchers have already discovered, and highlight what still needs further exploration. Let's get into the lesson. So, what is literature review? A literature review is a critical analysis of existing research on a particular topic. It summarizes, compares, and evaluates previous studies to provide a comprehensive understanding of the subject. If you are researching climate change and agriculture, a literature review would include studies on how climate change affects crop yield, different adaptation strategies used by farmers, the gaps in research, such as the role of indigenous farming practices in mitigating climate change effects. So, what is the importance of literature review? A literature review is important because it helps to identify a research problem that ensures your study is relevant and original. Second, it develops research questions, guides the direction of your study. And third, understand what is known and unknown, which helps you to avoid redundant research. And the fourth one is it helps you to identify gaps in knowledge. That is, it helps you to highlight areas needs more research. And the last one is discover unanswered questions. That is, it leads to new research opportunities. If you are studying work from home policy and employee productivity, your literature review might reveal that many studies focus on corporate employees but lack data on freelancers or remote educators. There is a little research on the long-term psychological impact of remote work. So these gaps can help you to formulate new set of research questions. Importance. There are other benefits of research review, which includes finding relevant theories. This helps you to understand the research framework and refining interventions for applied research. It aids in designing a better policy or program. And analyzing research methods helps in choosing the best study design. Developing hypothesis provides you evidence-based predictions for your research. Planning methodology helps in choosing research tools, sampling methods, and data collection techniques. For example, I would like to give an example. A study on telemedicine in rural India might review the theories of technological operation in healthcare, the past research or the previous research on the internet access as well as the digital literacy in rural areas and the different research methods which were used to access healthcare access. Purpose of literature review. A literature review helps researchers to stay updated on current research trends, evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of previous studies, develop effective research methodologies, and to understand problems faced by the previous researcher. For this, I would like to give an example that a review of literature on e-learning, especially on higher education, might show you strong evidence that the e-learning opportunities improve accessibility, weaknesses in measure student engagement and retention, and the last one is a need for more studies on teacher training, especially on online education. So these things will help you to frame your research questions. The next one is the purpose of review of literature. So, a literature review will help you to contextualize research within the broader academic discussions, identify relationship between studies, resolve conflicts in past findings as well as prevent duplication by ensuring new studies adding value. It also suggests new direction for research. For this, the example might be research on AI in journalism will reveal the conflicting views on whether artificial intelligence enhances or threatens traditional journalism, a gap in studies on how artificial intelligence affects news credibility, a need for research on audience perception of artificially intelligent generated uses, that is AI generated uses. So the further purpose of the review of literature is the review of literature helps to explain variations on behavior or phenomena. It identifies potential relationship between the concepts, helps define and measure key concepts, identifies data sources and alternative approaches. So in studying urban migration as well as the employment, a literature review might help you to collect or to formulate the link between migration patterns and job availability, a lack of studies on how migrants use informal networks for job searching, the need for new models to assess economic integration of migrants. So let us move on to the sources of literature review. There are two main sources of literature review, which is the primary source, that is the first-hand research report, and the secondary sources, that is the summary or analysis of the primary research. So if you're studying renewable energy adoption, primary sources include research paper on solar energy, wind energy projects, while the secondary sources include the reviews of summarizing these studies. So the types of sources. In this slide, I would like to explain the primary as well as the secondary sources in detail. So the primary sources include original research studies published in academic journals, conference papers, which presents new findings, the reports from government as well as government statistics, a research paper on forest conservation policy that uses survey data from the forest official as well as the local community is a primary source. And so what is secondary source? Secondary sources include review articles summarizing multiple studies. So it can be called as meta-analysis studies. So meta-analysis studies combining statistical research from different studies. It also includes statistical results too. So you can easily identify as well as you can easily get a clear idea from what all those research or all those studies the researchers say with the help of meta-analysis. And the next one is textbook as well as reports summarizing the previous research. So a book on climate policy that compiles and interprets findings from multiple studies is a perfect example for secondary source. So how can we access these primary sources as well as secondary sources? So let us see that. So search engines, how search engines are used to collect literature review. Let us see that. To find relevant research, use the following academic search engines such as Google Scholar, ScienceX, Microsoft Academic Research, Science Direct, and so on. So, if you are a user of Google Scholar, you can search, for example, the impact of mobile banking on rural economies. So, if you search the keywords in Google Scholar, which will give you access to peer-reviewed as well as non-peer-reviewed articles and case studies. So the next one is e-journals, thesis and dissertations. There are plenty of e-journals and thesis and dissertations are available. The following websites. So the resources for deeper research, it helps to study in depth So these include InfluxNet, a network of Indian research institutions that help you to access research articles as well as secondary sources from various research institutions across India. And there is a website called Shodhganga. It is a database over more than 2 lakh research theses from all over India. The institutions tied up with Shodhganga, they upload the research thesis which were submitted by the research scholars. So, patient dissertation on traditional medicine as well as any topic, you can access it using Shodhganga or in InfluxNet, the research paper published by the concerned faculty as well as the scholar. So these are the primary as well as secondary sources. Thank you. So today we explored the review of literature, especially we studied what is review of literature, how it helps us to understand existing studies, identify gaps and refine research questions. Thank you.